Alright everybody, hopefully you can hear me. I just got set up with this microphone using GoPro's extortionate $50 mic adapter that you should be able to use any off-the-shelf one that costs $6, but that is what it is. I'm using a purple Panda microphone, one of the lavalier mics from Amazon. Wasn't too expensive, so hopefully this comes in okay. I've got it mounted kind of in the cheek area inside my helmet. It's got a little dead cat on it too, so hopefully there's not too much wind. But yeah, this is going to be my little owner's review for the 2020 Kawasaki Z900. I've had it about a month and a half, and I have put 2,034 miles on it. So there's plenty of reviews for it, but most of the time it's like people that were given the bike as loaners or test bikes. And, you know, they might put a couple hundred miles on it, but they're not riding it every day like I am. So just kind of wanted to give you my ideas of it, and if you're interested, maybe this will help you make that decision. So this is 2020. They made a lot of changes for it. The biggest being this TFT dash. It's pretty awesome. It actually shows your revs in real time. You've got every piece of info that you could want: gas, mileage, temperature, range, which I've found that the range is kind of iffy. It seems to update in real time depending upon how you're riding, so take that how you will, but it gives you a general idea. You also have some kind of safety features for 2020. You've got three-way traction control and rider modes, which are new. So you've got sport, road, rain, and then a customizable one where you can change the power output. So there's either a full power or they call it low power, but really it's like 60-70%, so the bike's still pretty quick. But it's neat, so if you start getting rained on, you can drop it in rain mode. That'll give you the most traction control and low power, so a little bit safer ride. There's also this beautiful paint. They call it Candy Plasma Blue. I love it. Kawasaki's typically green, but I saw this and I just thought it was the most beautiful color. Normally this is a $300 increase over MSRP, but I got this bike. It was listed at $93.9. I ended up getting it for $77. So I got a pretty sweet deal on it. Pretty happy about it. The mirrors I absolutely hated. So I went ahead and changed them out with just some bar-end mirrors I got at my local motorcycle shop. The normal ones are those giant bunny ears that stick out, and all I could see, being 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, was my shoulders when I was riding, so wasn't very safe. Other than that, pretty good setup. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this bike. So you got an inverted fork up front, dual 300mm discs, ABS, little baby disc in the back, still with ABS, as you can see. The ABS works well. I've ridden bikes with ABS and it's really intrusive and it gets in the way, but this I haven't really found it. Unless you're braking very hard, the ABS doesn't kick in and get in your way, which is appreciated, because if anybody's ridden a bike with ABS that's really finicky, you know it can be annoying when you don't always want that to kick in, and it can be a bit jarring too. It's not a fun feeling, but I haven't had that issue with this bike. But yeah, let's take it out, give it a little ride. I'm not really going to be boring you with all the specs. I just gave you a brief overview. I'll give you a couple little pieces, but if you really care about all of that stuff's on Kawasaki's website. I kind of want to more just give you an idea of how the bike feels to ride, actually owning the bike, not so much just the specs. Let's try not to crash on the dirt here. Alright, now we got a bit of wind going. Hopefully you can hear me. I've got a BMW riding my ass. Not really sure why, but okay. So yeah, the bike is quick. 127 horsepower, about 73 foot-pounds of torque. It's a very quick bike. And I love how it delivers power. So if you're used to riding 600cc super sport bikes, 4,000 cc's for that matter, that are very top end. You really have to rev them out to get the beans in it. Yeah, not the case in this. So the torque comes in low and it comes in very hard. Pretty much any gear you're in. I don't know what these bicyclists are doing. Trying to get an accident, I guess. But yeah, like I was saying, you pretty much have torque in any gear. Riding here in Gates Pass in Tucson, Arizona, it's a little curvy. I wish it was curvier, but you can be in third, you can be in fourth, you can be in fifth, whatever. Even with this BMW trying to race me for some reason, or I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's just enjoying his day out, trying to have some fun. But I'm just kind of cruising in fourth, and he's not really gaining on me. So yeah, the power delivery is very different from the Super Sport. It's very linear, it's very predictable. I still wouldn't call this a beginner bike just because there's a ton of power, and especially in the higher RPMs, it can get away from you. The brakes in this are really good. They've got a great bite. The rear brake doesn't, I mean, it's a rear brake on a sport bike, so you're not going to expect much from it. 80% of your stopping is going to be coming from that rear brake, so just be aware of that and be cognizant of that, and you shouldn't have any issues. Now, the bike is pretty heavy, so I want to say it's like 470 pounds wet. So it is a bit heavy, but it turns in well. It wears its weight very well. On these little twisties, you feel very confident. I think the tires are Dunlop Sport Max 2s. They're pretty nice. I haven't had any issues with it. Now I'm riding on the sport setting. So the sport setting has the lowest amount of traction control without being completely off, and full power, just to give you an idea. So you got all the beans. God, that four-cylinder sounds good. Yeah, you get all the beans, all 127 horses. And you get just a little bit of traction control. It reminds you it's there sometimes, but it's not intrusive. On the road setting, which is just a more casual, the traction control is set to 2 out of 3, so kind of intermediate traction control. And I did notice on heavy accelerations in first and second that the traction control, it will intervene, and it's kind of annoying. So I prefer the sport mode. It's there, and in first gear sometimes you'll get the little TRC light, but it doesn't seem to impede you actually accelerating. Speaking of, we don't have anybody behind us right now. Let me go ahead, I'll give you a quick acceleration from 0 60. So as you could see there, if the dash was on camera, the traction control light was flickering on intermittently, but I didn't feel any intervention on the rear wheel. It didn't feel like it was powering itself down. It was just kind of like letting me know, like, hey, you know, cool it a little bit. But yeah, it's fine, it's good. And I've noticed it will still wheelie in first gear even with the traction control on. Now, if you have it on more than the first setting, so like very light traction control, it won't let you bring the front wheel up. You can try and you can maybe get it up an inch, but then it's like, no, cut that shit out. But on the sport mode, yeah, you can get the front wheel up. And obviously, you have a customizable rider setting, which I have mine set to no traction control, full power. I don't use it a whole lot just because this is a lot of bike. I like the little nannies. I don't mind it so much. and the very minor traction control that you get in sport mode is almost imperceivable, so it's not really a big deal. I'm going to speed up a little bit and get in front of this Jeep. Or Subaru, or whatever it is. And we're stuck behind a truck now. That's great. Alright, back to the weight. Yeah, the weight's there. You can feel it. Now, I'm a big guy, 6 foot, 200 pounds. I'm a pretty strong guy. So me lumbering the bike around, it's not really an issue for me. However, if you were a lighter person, you know, 150 pounds or less, I'm not going to say it's not manageable. It totally is, especially if you're an experienced rider. But I could see the weight, especially in low speed situations, going around in parking lots, stuff like that. I could see it probably getting in your way a little bit. It's almost gotten away from me in like a sloped parking lot. Oh, thank you. I ride this road almost every single day, and so many times you'll get stuck behind these people. They just don't pull over. I don't know why. I feel like there's this kind of perceived stigma against motorcycle riders that we're all just assholes, and people will do whatever they can to get one over on us. Like, I've seen bicyclists like flip me off as I go by. It's like, why, man? I'm not causing issues with you. All right, anyway, back to the bike. Yeah, so talking about the torque, I'm in 4th gear right now. You don't have to downshift. That's the awesome thing about these naked bikes and how their power delivery is. So you would have to be in a lower gear and high up on the RPMs to get the same kind of torque and the same kind of oomph that you get out of a bike like this on a super sport. And it's different. Now, obviously, you are sacrificing top speed, just raw top end with a bike like this and how it's geared. It's not geared to do 180. I think the top speed of this bike is something like, I don't know, 140 or something like that, which obviously is still pretty damn fast. But if you look at like an R6 has, I think, a little bit less horsepower than this, but the way that it's geared, it's still gonna get you faster, just because that's what it's meant to do. Like, it revs out high, the power delivery is meant to be up high. It's, you know, it's made for the track. This is a very usable everyday bike, and I love this bumpy road, so I'm gonna go a little bit quick here. Whew. It's like a roller coaster. All right, cool. So yeah, a very usable power band. I've ridden R6, I've ridden Gixxer 1000s. Now with 1000s, you do have a bit more down end torque. I'd say this is very similar to the down end of a well-geared 1000. So this is a 948cc inline 4. It might as well be 1000cc. It's got, you know, it's got less horsepower, but it's got about the same torque as most of those are making. So overall, yeah, it's an awesome bike. It's comfortable. I don't think I touched on that. It's very comfortable. I've ridden super sports. My last daily was a Ninja 400, 60 miles to the gallon. You can't really complain. But even on that bike, it yeah, you would feel it. Your ass would start hurting, and it's not a fun feeling having your ass feel like that after an hour of riding. I've had this out for about 3 hours. I think that's probably the longest ride I've done. And yeah, like you could feel it. There's a little bit of pain, but nothing compared to your typical super sport slung over crotch rocket type of bike. And I'm not saying the seat is that comfortable. The seat's not super comfortable. It's not all that padded, and the pillion box on the back, forget about it. It's so uncomfortable. My girlfriend sat on it, and she hates it. She's 100, well, she's not even 100 pounds. She's like 95 pounds, and even she feels that this back seat is uncomfortable. Yeah, it's like rock hard. So if you're buying this as a passenger bike, yeah, someone could sit on the back, sure, but don't expect them to be comfortable. If you're a very thin person, my complaint about the mirrors probably won't apply to you. But yeah, I much prefer these bar ends. It's pretty much everything. It's an awesome bike, great power, adjustable levers too, which is nice. I've got them dialed in just how I like. That's from the factory, not added in. All of your controls here to adjust the TFT display. And it does have Bluetooth connectivity too to Kawasaki's Rideology app. I haven't fiddled with it too much just because I don't like too much technology. It's a motorcycle, but you can do some cool stuff. So you can track your rides. I think you can set like service intervals too, which is something that I might use it for. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about the bike, drop a comment. I'll give you my idea, but that's kind of my general thoughts and overviews on the 2020 Z900. I've got now, after our little ride, 2,044 miles, and at this rate, this bike is going to be worth absolutely nothing in a couple years. I got to stop riding it so much. All right, thanks.